There are some very bad people who are using my little brother's memory as profit for them. They held a fundraiser tonight and raised money to go and defecate on my little brother's grave. And there's nothing I can do to stop them from doing this. But the only thing I thought I could do was make sure that I get my little brother's story out as many times as I can. So every day, for as long as it takes for me to feel like he's being seen and heard, I'm going to start every day by telling my little brother's story and making sure that the world knows what that little boy went through. So who was my little brother? What happened? His name was Ronnie Jr. He was named after his father, which is absolutely disturbing because his father is the one that handicapped him. Our father was an extremely violent man. After having me and my older sister and a miscarriage in between, he came home one day to my pregnant mother, screaming that the child in her belly was going to be another goddamn girl, and he wasn't going to have it. He knocked my mother to the ground, and he sat on her stomach, and he choked her as he banged her head into the floor until she blacked out. It took 4 of the neighbors to pull him off of her. They made up a story so he wouldn't go to jail and took her to the hospital. My little brother was born that day. Brain damaged. He has cerebral palsy from the attack. My little brother would spend the next 23 years of his life wearing diapers, sitting in a wheelchair, drooling on himself, unable to speak, never able to walk, never able to even feed himself. He ate through a hole in his stomach called a G-tube. And before we were able to get that surgery, they just shoved food down his throat. Quite literally, they would use a syringe with a big opening, fill it up with the Ensure, and shoot it down his throat. Because he couldn't swallow or chew. He passed away just a few years after our father killed himself in front of our brother, in the process of beating our mother. This was normal for little Ronnie. This was the life that he had grown accustomed to. He had lived his entire life listening to his parents fight and scream and threaten to kill each other. He lived a life of hell. He lived an absolute nightmare, trapped inside his own body, put there by his father. And he lived his life never even knowing that his father is the one that crippled him. He loved his father. When that dump truck would pull into the yard at night, he would get so excited. He would practically rock himself out of the chair. So excited to see the man that prisoned him in his own body every day. Up until the day he saw that man kill himself. And now, people online are using him for their financial gain. What they did last night was the second time that they've used my little brother this way. Last year they held a fundraiser called Let's Go Pee on Bubba's Grave. They held a fundraiser to urinate on my little brother's grave. They raised $1,500 to urinate on my brother's grave. And then earlier this year, my aunt fulfilled that goal. After our mother passed away, my aunt visited my little brother's grave and left a bottle of apple juice there. And she uploaded a video, titled it "Standing in for a Friend." She made it very clear that the apple juice was symbolic urine and was being left there for Adonis Paul because he raised money to piss on my brother's grave, and so somebody had to do that. And that somebody was my brother's own blood relative. His mother's sister, his own aunt. And that's probably the person that's going to go and leave the fudge on his grave to symbolize shit as well. Because that's the kind of family that he has. That was the kind of life that he had. And I'm going to tell his story every day until I feel like people understand what he went through and how wrong it is for Adonis Paul to be fundraising money for himself using my little brother's name and story as the face of his profiting. I don't know how much he made last night to shit on my brother's grave. I don't care. If he only made $1, it was too much off of the back of my little brother. And they'll come and say, well, you're profiting off of him, aren't you? No, I am not. I won't make a penny off of this video. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for exposure to his story so that people know not only what he went through, but what he is still going through. That his own blood relatives are willing to do disgusting shit like leaving synthetic urine at his grave for cyber bullies to profit. That's what y'all are going to be doing to my little brother for what, the next 20, 30, 40 years? As long as I'm alive, you're going to be tormenting, desecrating my little brother's grave. And what did he do to you? Nothing. You just need money. And that's all that matters, and you don't care who you use to get that money. Well, the person they're using to get their money right now is a handicapped boy who was never able to do anything to hurt anybody and does not deserve for his own family to be desecrating his grave twice a year. My little brother deserves better, and Adonis Paul should be deplatformed.